This program is made possible by the support of Delta Dental.
Joint Finance Committee meeting with our new committee, getting the ball rolling today with some important issues and getting ready to build up, of course, to a lot of good budget work. Before us today, we have 1310 process, which is of the most, I would say the most significant one that's on there is DPI. Not that the DOJ things aren't important too, but we'll certainly take care of those as well. But DPI submitted a plan for federal funding, and we're here today to talk a little bit about how we're going to modify that plan to make some important investments in something that's really important to legislative Republicans, but also to families and children all across Wisconsin. So we're glad to have a couple of families here to talk about how schooling from home and the loss of in-person schooling has impacted their families directly. There's some great examples of how this is impacting families all over Wisconsin. So first we'll hear from those two families that have joined us today. And let's see, it's Brent and Debbie and Sarah. Thanks for being here.
Hi there. We have a junior at the Oregon School District is where he was going. We've been with the Oregon School District his entire school career, and in the spring when they stopped school due to COVID, and then we learned they wouldn't finish the year in school, pretty much instantly after he realized that he just had pass-fail grades and he didn't need to engage at all, he lost interest because what was schoolwork, what was his effort when it didn't matter what his grade was and it didn't affect his GPA. So he kind of gave up there. As school started again, he put his best foot forward, but it quickly went downhill because of the isolation, the inconsistency with the schedules. We noticed his mental health, social well-being really went downhill, and so we got concerned, got a counselor involved. We, in our community, started a grassroots effort with like-minded parents that wanted to get their kids back in school. And we went to the school board meetings, we sent letters, we gave case studies of similar school districts that were in person and could do it successfully. And we were met with resistance the entire time. So after seeing our son very quickly hit him and it went downhill very quickly, we decided that we had to get him out of the Oregon School District so that we could give him an in-person option. So we transferred him to Milton, and he drives 35 minutes to school every day, goes there full days every other day, and on the days that he's not in school, he's fully engaged online with an engaged teacher, no blackout screens. But the very first day, it was like he came alive again. And it's been wonderful to have him in person. I'm sorry I'm getting emotional, but it was really hard as a parent to see your child go through something they had no control over and not be able to help them. And him being in person helped him tremendously. It's like we have a new child at home. And it was the other day when there was the snowstorms and all the schools were calling school the night before. He woke up in the morning in Milton, had school, and he goes, "Mom, is it weird that I'm so glad that I can go to school today?" And so that's so telling, because what kid doesn't want to skip school on a snow day? And mine wanted to be there. So it's just really wonderful to have an in-person option, and that's all that we ever wanted, was just for the kids to have an option to go to school, just to have even a day or 2 days to be in school. And it's been wonderful with him there. The only downfall is because he's a junior and he transferred schools, the WIA will not let him compete as a varsity wrestler, and that's his passion, that's his life, and he was not able to do that this year because he transferred as a junior to no fault of his own. So that's been really hard on him, but luckily he's been able to overcome that with the help of his teammates and his coaches. So it's been a great experience to be in person, and I would wish it for every student.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning. We're the proud parents of two 17-year-old boys. normally very active, very outgoing boys. But unfortunately for the last 11 months, due to the virtual-only policy of our school district, the boys have really been sentenced almost to a life in their room or a life in the basement. Normally they'd be going to school, growing, learning, participating in sports, hopefully maybe chasing girls, doing all those fun things that boys should be doing. And unfortunately, they're just not. Instead, with this imposed sentence they have, the kids are becoming unmotivated, they're becoming uneducated as well too, and really unprepared for life after high school. And it's very sad for us to watch this. We hear statistics all the time about rising depression, rising suicide rates. These are all very real concerns of all of us. And what we're witnessing day after day in our own household is a slow erosion of our boys. And it's very sad to see, especially when a few miles up the road we see kids going to school and playing sports and doing all the things that they want. A few miles down the road we see the same thing. Unfortunately, we are confined in the Madison School District right now, and they are still virtual only, even though they, I know, announced today that they're going to try to make attempts to go back to school. It's still going to be a long time before we see high schoolers go back to school.
And I'm going to read my part. If we had the option to simply move to another school mid-year, we certainly would have done that. We understand for some people home is better, but not for everyone, and I would argue not for most kids. We've heard for all of our lives school is about the children, while our children are languishing and there's no end in sight. We've even heard rumblings they won't be back in session in the fall. We've observed almost every other business or institution. They've found ways to figure it out and keep moving forward, but not ours, not Madison Public Schools. For the sake of the children, we need to see them back in school in a structured environment where they can continue to learn and grow.
Thank you. Thank those families for coming to share their story, the story of far too many families and kids here in Wisconsin right now. Next, we're going to have Representative Rodriguez talk a little bit about why this is an important thing that we're working on today and why we're decided to take the action we will be taking on the DPI plan. And then Senator Strobel will follow her to kind of explain what we're going to be doing with that plan.
Thank you, Representative Borden. Good morning, everyone. I'm Representative Jesse Rodriguez, a member of the Committee of Joint Finance. And as a mother of a fifth grader, I can totally understand and sympathize with the parents that you heard this morning. My child spent all of the last school year virtually and a portion of this school year virtually. And I can tell you that after the school district decided to go in person, that evening I asked my son, "How was your first day of school?" And he said it was awesome, which was music to my ear, because up until then, even though he's a good student academically, we noticed that he was struggling through his virtual education. The teacher was doing everything she could to get the attention of all the students that she had to educate virtually, but it's not the same. And we would spend sometimes till 8 or 9 at night helping him with his homework, even though he'd had virtual instruction all morning. So I know that it's important to a lot of the parents that children go back to school. And so today, getting kids back to the classroom is our top priority. A recent CDC study of 17 rural Wisconsin schools conducting in-person learning found that only 3.7% were linked to in-school spread. And just this week, the Kaukauna School District expanded in-person learning, citing both the CDC study and a survey of parents and students, which found that over 3 out of 4 parents and almost 2 out of every 3 students wanted increase in-person learning. According to the CDC, opening schools for in-person learning as safely and as quickly as possible and keeping them open is important, given that many known and established benefits of in-person learning. And I think a lot of the parents here can testify to that, and I can too. The number of new COVID cases has continued to decline, and we're seeing that more people are being vaccinated in our states. So with proper safety protocols and COVID-19 precautions in place, kids should be coming back to school and being in their classrooms. The pandemic is taking a toll on our kids' mental health. We've seen increased rates of suicide, mental health needs, domestic abuse, and substance abuse. And we truly believe, and a lot of parents truly believe, that getting kids back in school will help with these issues. This proposal incentivizes schools that are providing in-person instruction, and we hope that we will get a lot of support on this.
Well, thank you for those comments. I think you touched on a lot of very good areas, Jesse. The plan overall, well, first off, I'll say, my wife and I, we have 8 kids. We've had 6 kids go through the public K-12 system, and education is of utmost importance, certainly in our family. I've got 2 kids right now in K-12, and we see in very much real time how important it is for those kids to be in school. And just to the nuts and bolts of this program here, it's federal money, and 90% of it, we have no say in where it goes. The federal government has directed where that goes. It goes to schools with based upon their Title I enrollment. So, and what we're seeing right here is now Milwaukee, for instance, is getting thousands of dollars per student from that 90%, the $600-some million. What we're talking about is about $60-some million that we have latitude with, that 10%. And as was said, we want to incentivize and reward districts that are open in person, because we have seen that it can be done safely. And when we look at the benefits of those kids in school, it's a place we certainly have got to go. We've heard this week that the CDC says it's safe to open schools. In fact, they even said that it's safe that not all the teachers necessarily be vaccinated. So what this plan does is, again, 90% of it is allocated without any of our input whatsoever. But for 171 school districts that are getting less than $395, this is where we will begin to look at the percentage of time that students have been in class with a teacher. And all those 171 districts will be added together, they'll be divided up, and that will be the formula to determine how that $60-some million will be allocated. And the long and short of it is, if you're in class, students in class, teachers in class, you're going to be able to benefit more from that money. And I think the beauty of it, too, is we're not just looking back, we're looking forward. We're looking forward to the end of this school year. So schools right now have the ability to look at the accumulating body of evidence that shows that we can open our schools safely, that transmission rates within our schools are practically nil, that the kids that we have quarantined from close contact have virtually come back with 0 infections from those close contacts, and that's anecdotal, but it's certainly what I hear from many of my districts. And again, this is to reward and incentivize those districts, and that remaining money will be allocated on the percentage that you will actually be open. So again, let's get kids back in school. That's where learning can occur and is best to occur, and that's even outside of the other whole issues that we've here broached previously about mental health and all the other things that aren't going on that are preventing our kids from leading a normal life. Now, I know during this pandemic it won't be totally normal, but I think we can do a lot better job of making it more normal than we are today. And the point of this policy is to help that move along. So, thank you.
All right. So thank you to everyone that joined us to talk about this important topic today. And Senator Marklein and I can take a couple of questions now regarding today's joint finance meeting, if anyone has any.
So what happened to the Republican philosophy of local control, and how does a committee made up of Republicans who live in rural, suburban areas tell urban districts what they should be doing to their kids?
Well, this is a plan that's before the Finance Committee that's being administered by state government. And so this isn't really a local control issue. This is federal money that will be passed through the state, and we've outlined a plan today that focuses on that priority of getting kids back into school, because the evidence of the necessity of that is pretty overwhelming. I don't know if the Senator has anything to add to that.
The bottom line is our kids need to be in school. I don't care if you're a rural school, urban school, our kids need to be in school. You heard the comments earlier. Our kids want to be there. Our parents want to be there. I hear it from parents in my district. So this is not a urban-rural issue. It's a matter of I believe our kids need to be in school for their benefit and for society's benefit.
So does your formula weight the distribution based on how many hours they're in person? I mean, is a school that has 1 day a week going to get more in the formula than a school that, or less in the formula than a school that does 3 days a week?
Yes, it's focused on hours in the classroom.
And this formula goes back to what's the start date?
This school year.
So if the district has been not in person so far, they're being penalized already, this policy is being put in place in February of the school year.
I would say that they don't have the opportunity for this federal money looking backwards, but they absolutely, as the Senator outlined, have the opportunity for some of this federal money looking forwards.
Those school districts that are open, and I've got a number of districts in my Senate district that have been open since September 1st, they've incurred a lot of costs, in terms of transportation, cleaning and all that, that districts that are fully virtual have not incurred. So, I also want to reward those districts that have been in person to now, but also provide an incentive for districts that may be virtual now to open up for the remainder of this school year.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
An independent, nonpartisan, nonprofit media network with a mission to inform, educate, and engage the citizens of Wisconsin. Wisconsin Eye is the nation's first and only independently funded state civics broadcast network, providing gavel-to-gavel access to government proceedings and events at the state capitol.